one of those people who heard the beat of a different drummer, followed it, and guess what? She became an author, the co-creator of the iconic Fido Dido, and a pioneer in the new subgenre of animation. And she's done a lot of other things, and she's really an interesting lady. So I thought we'd have a little conversation. Welcome.
Thank you, Stewart. Very honored to be here with a legend such as yourself.
You started as a writer.
I started as a writer. I was in second grade, and as I said, I was one of kids. Eight. When you're one of eight, you don't get much attention. Certainly not a lot of positive attention, and basically this teacher had us write a story. So I wrote a story about a little girl who turns into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and gets eaten by a horse. And my teacher was very tickled by it and praised me for it, which was, like music to my ears, and sent me over to the library to give the book to her friend, the librarian.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
What happened to the horse after they ate the peanut butter sandwich?
I can't remember. I don't know how I wrapped it up. I don't know whether it was a cliffhanger or it was neatly tied up with a bow. I really can't remember, but I loved doing it and I loved being noticed for doing it.
Well, how did you get the idea to do it? It had to come from something you saw or heard or.
I loved horses. I loved peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I loved making stuff up even at a very early age. And I guess that is some of the ingredients that make me a writer today.
Well, what philosophy and values do you share with the characters in your books? Because they're a little different, and I appreciate that. But a lot of people go, "What?"
Well, I think, even with my little TV show that I did for kids, Angela Anaconda, the idea was to elevate people who are left behind. The losers, so-called losers, are my heroes. The people who have to struggle, who are not handed everything on a silver platter, or maybe who are handed too much on a silver platter. Everybody has their struggle and everybody has a point of difference. And my philosophy is life is an exclusive club that anyone can join.
How did you come up with the idea for Fido Dido?
Well, I was living in New York City and going to club area, and it was just beautiful. It was performance art and music and visual artists and club kids and rich people and poor people and everybody sort of coming together. It was like a giant, creatively explosive pub. And there was just something in the air. It was just a beautiful, exciting time culturally. I wanted to do something artistic, something visual, that would kind of express my excitement about that state of the city and of people coming together. And I kept talking with my friend Sue Rose, and we would meet every day after work and have a drink. We worked right near each other. I kept telling her we should do something to put our point of view out there. I didn't know how that would manifest. And one day we're sitting in this bar and she doodles a caricature of my friend John, who's a waiter at the place we go to. And everybody around the table loves it. And I take the bev nap that she's made the doodle on, and I the next day I'm on my way to work, and I'm like, this is Fido, and this is our guy. And I tell Sue, and she thinks that I have two heads.
Who is Fido, and what is his mission?
Well, we like to say there's a little bit of Fido in everybody and a little bit of everybody in Fido. Fido is kind of every man, but his philosophy is it's cool to be kind. Everybody is welcome. If you have lemons, make lemonade. He has an attitude and a spirit of inclusivity and of fun and of adventure and curiosity, and knows how to live life really, really well.
What have you learned from Fido?
I've learned a certain kind of awe and love, because Fido, has been out in the world in some respects only in certain countries as a spokes character for 7-Up International. They picked up Fido about 5 years after we created him to use to advertise 7-Up. And even without, just based on that, and without any kind of editorial input from Sue and I, people still understand exactly who he is.
Now getting on to another character, Angela Anaconda. She is just like the opposite of Fido in her attitude.
She is and she isn't. It's, with Angela, that was more of a response to, well, there's definitely some autobiographical elements because she lives in a kind of chaotic family with a father who's something of a dreamer and a mom who's fairly strict. And, it's rough and tumble and there are kids all over the place and, things breaking down all the time. And she's up against this girl, Nanette Memoir, who has it all and pretends to be French. She's that pretentious. And she knows full well that the world is not father knows best, that everything isn't tied up with a neat bow, that everything isn't white picket fences and running smoothly, as was proposed by what I was exposed to in the 1950s watching family TV. And I would see Father Knows Best and I'd look around and be like, what's wrong with my family? Oh, I wanted to respond to that. I wanted to give kids something that would deal more in reality. And so, Angela is up against it. Nonetheless, she prevails by using her imagination and by keeping a good attitude. And again, the friends of hers are all the kids in the class that would be otherwise labeled as the losers.
Basically, you're an advocate for people who are different.
Yeah.
What advice can you give them, to help them stand their ground and move forward?
I think, it's kind of the same advice that I would give to anybody because I think everybody struggles, particularly younger people struggle with who they are and their identity and all of that. And, there are some simple kind of corny lines, but I think they make a lot of sense. And that is that other people's opinion of you is none of your business. And particularly with kids who are struggling with, being different and what have you, find a good friend that you can confide in, talk with somebody who you can trust.
It's really good advice. So I have one more question for you. What's in the future for Jo Ferrone?
I've got more books, writing a new one now. I have a new store in Wynwood. It's Fido X Circular. I'm doing that with my friend Pablo, who's a very talented designer and has a line called Circular Gallery. And we kind of joined forces.
Before we go, just give me the names of your 2 books.
Okay, the first
Online.
one, Julian Dickerson and the Higher Ups. And the second one is Doreen by Doreen.
So I want to say thank you so much for conversating with me. I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to doing it another time.
Thanks, Stewart. Bye-bye.